Welcome back to a profound exploration of the intricacies of the human mind, emotions, and the way we perceive the world. Today, we're venturing into a realm that affects every interaction we experience, every relationship we build, and every judgment we make: social perception. This is not merely about how we see others, but more importantly, how we interpret their actions, how we assign meaning to their behaviors, and how these interpretations shape our decisions. Social perception is the invisible lens through which we engage with the world, but the question we need to ask ourselves is, how clear is that lens? How often is it clouded by biases, preconceptions, or emotional reactions? In this session, we aim to remove these barriers, offering you the tools to perceive situations and people more clearly, and therefore more fairly. By the end of this exploration, you will understand how mastering the art of social perception can enhance your ability to treat others with fairness, respect, and a deeper sense of understanding. Using modern psychological insights, coupled with the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, will unravel how social perception works and how you can use it to foster relationships that are built on clarity, fairness, and mutual respect. Get ready for an enlightening journey as we dissect social dynamics, explore the ethics of fairness, and learn practical strategies to navigate the complexities of human interaction. We often underestimate the power of perception in shaping our daily experiences. Whether you're at work, in a family setting, or socializing with friends, your perceptions color your reactions and responses. It's not just about observing behavior. It's about interpreting motives, understanding context, and navigating the unspoken rules of human interaction. Today, we'll journey through the core aspects of social perception, examining everything from attribution theory to the biases that distort our judgments. Along the way, we'll weave in Stoic principles that can help you cultivate fairness and clear thinking in even the most challenging social situations. Prepare yourself for practical exercises, thought-provoking case studies, and moments of reflection as we explore how you can see beyond the surface and into the heart of fairness. Before we can master social perception, we need to first understand what it is and why it matters. Social perception is the process through which we gather, interpret, and analyze information about others. It's how we make sense of their behaviors, emotions, and intentions. However, this process is far from straightforward. Often, we rely on subtle cues, facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, that provide us with the raw data we need to form our judgments. But how often do we pause to consider how accurate these judgments are? How many times do we let biases or assumptions cloud our understanding of another person's behavior? In this part of the session, we will focus on developing sharper observation skills. It's about training your mind to pick up on details you might have previously overlooked, details that could be the key to a more accurate perception of someone's intentions or emotional state. This begins with mindfulness, staying present in the moment and truly listening, not just to what is being said, but how it is being said. These skills are crucial for forming a fair and balanced understanding of the people we interact with daily. As we move from observation to interpretation, we delve into the concept of attribution, how we make sense of what we've observed. When someone acts in a certain way, do we immediately assume it's because of who they are as a person, an internal attribution? Or do we take into account the external circumstances that might be influencing their behavior? The Stoic approach encourages us to avoid jumping to conclusions, to consider all factors before making a judgment. This mindful approach to perception allows us to see people more clearly and engage with them more fairly. Think back to a recent interaction where you felt misunderstood, or where you misunderstood someone else. Reflect on what you noticed in their body language or tone. Did you make an immediate judgment, or did you pause to consider other possibilities? Now imagine how that interaction might have changed if you had taken more time to reflect before forming your impression. At the heart of social perception lies attribution theory, which is the study of how we assign causes to people's behavior. In everyday life, we are constantly attributing actions to either internal factors, such as someone's personality or character, or to external factors like the situation they are in. These attributions influence how we treat others and how we react to their actions. Unfortunately, our attributions are often flawed, influenced by cognitive biases that lead us to make unfair or inaccurate judgments. Let's consider internal and external attributions in detail. Imagine a scenario where a coworker snaps at you in a meeting. Your immediate response might be to assume that they are an irritable or difficult person. This is an internal attribution. However, what if they were under significant stress due to a personal issue, something you had no knowledge of? This would be an external factor influencing their behavior. Understanding the difference between these two types of attributions can radically shift how you perceive and respond to situations. But why do we tend to lean more toward internal attributions, especially when it comes to others? The answer lies in a common cognitive bias called the fundamental attribution error. This bias causes us to overestimate the role of personal traits in others' actions while underestimating situational factors. Recognizing this bias is the first step in overcoming it. The Stoic approach reminds us to remain calm and consider the broader picture before passing judgment. Practicing this can help you navigate social interactions more fairly and with greater empathy. Take a moment now to reflect on a time when you felt slighted by someone's actions. Did you attribute their behavior to their character, or did you consider external factors that might have influenced them? How would your perception change if you approached the situation from a Stoic perspective, aiming for fairness and understanding? Fairness is a cornerstone of human interaction. It is something we all seek, whether consciously or unconsciously. When we perceive an interaction or outcome as fair, we are more likely to be satisfied, cooperative, and positive. Conversely, when we perceive something as unfair, it can lead to feelings of anger, frustration, and resentment. But fairness itself is a complex and often subjective concept. What one person sees as fair, another might perceive as unjust. So how do we navigate these differing perceptions? Psychologists identify three main dimensions of fairness: distributive justice, which concerns the fairness of outcomes; procedural justice, which focuses on the fairness of the processes that lead to those outcomes; and interactional justice, which relates to how fairly people are treated during those processes. In this section, we'll explore how each of these dimensions influences our perception of fairness and how we can apply Stoic principles to ensure that we remain balanced and just in our judgments. Imagine a workplace scenario where a colleague feels overlooked for a promotion. From their perspective, the outcome, distributive justice, is unfair. But if they were treated with respect and the decision-making process was transparent, procedural and interactional justice, their response might be less emotionally charged. By examining fairness from multiple angles, we can better understand the complexity of the concept and learn how to approach it with greater empathy and clarity. Now take a moment to reflect on a time when you felt something was unfair. How did you react? Were your emotions heightened by a sense of injustice? Stoic practices such as cognitive reframing can help you manage these emotions, allowing you to maintain composure and see the situation more clearly. By understanding that fairness can be subjective, we can avoid letting emotions dictate our responses and instead respond with fairness and integrity. Biases are inherent in the way we perceive the world. They serve as mental shortcuts that help us process information quickly, but they can also distort our perception and lead to unfair judgments. One of the most pervasive biases is confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring information that contradicts them. This bias can be particularly harmful when it comes to forming judgments about others, as it often reinforces stereotypes and prevents us from seeing the full picture. Another common bias is the self-serving bias, which leads us to attribute our successes to internal factors, such as our abilities or hard work, while blaming external factors for our failures. These biases can cloud our judgment and hinder our ability to perceive situations and people fairly. Overcoming them requires mindful awareness and a commitment to questioning our assumptions. The Stoics offer valuable insights on how to overcome bias. They emphasize the importance of approaching life with an open mind, free from preconceived notions. This means being willing to question your assumptions, listen to opposing viewpoints, and embrace humility. Stoicism teaches us that we are not omniscient, and that true wisdom comes from recognizing our limitations. Consider how the halo effect might influence your perception of someone. If you have a positive first impression of a person, you are more likely to overlook their flaws and exaggerate their strengths. Conversely, if you have a negative first impression, you might be overly critical of their actions. By practicing mindfulness and reflecting on your biases, you can begin to see people more clearly and fairly. Reflect on the biases you may hold and how they affect your social perceptions. How can you work to overcome them? Start by questioning your assumptions and seeking out new perspectives. Remember, fairness and clarity begin with self-awareness. Justice is one of the 4 cardinal virtues in Stoicism, alongside wisdom, courage, and temperance. To the Stoics, justice was not merely a legal or social concept, but a deeply personal and ethical one. It meant treating others with fairness, respecting their rights, and always considering the greater good. In our modern world, where individualism often takes precedence, this Stoic emphasis on justice offers a refreshing perspective on how we can live more ethical and harmonious lives. Living justly, according to Stoic philosophy, means being honest in our dealings, standing up for what is right, and being willing to put the needs of others ahead of our own when necessary. But living in accordance with Stoic justice is not always easy. It requires us to constantly reflect on our actions and decisions, asking ourselves whether we are truly acting with fairness and integrity. It also requires us to be willing to admit when we are wrong and to make amends when necessary. In this section, we will explore how you can incorporate Stoic justice into your everyday life. Through practical examples and case studies, we'll see how Stoic principles can guide our decisions, particularly when faced with ethical dilemmas. For instance, how should a Stoic respond when personal gain conflicts with fairness to others? How can we balance our individual desires with the greater good? Reflect on how you handle ethical dilemmas in your own life. Do you consistently act in alignment with Stoic justice, or do you struggle with balancing personal interests with fairness to others? By practicing mindfulness and reflection, you can begin to align your actions with Stoic principles of justice. As we bring everything together, we begin to see how social perception, fairness, and Stoicism intersect in profound ways. Our perceptions shape our actions, and our actions, in turn, shape the world around us. Fairness is not just an abstract ideal. It's a practical guide for building better relationships, fostering community, and living a life of integrity. Through the Stoic lens, fairness is about seeing others clearly, free from bias, and treating them with respect and empathy. It's about ensuring that our actions are guided by justice, not self-interest, and that we approach each interaction with a desire to understand, rather than judge. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship, but how we handle that conflict is what makes the difference. Stoicism teaches us to approach conflict with calm and reason, focusing on solutions that benefit both parties rather than allowing emotions to escalate the situation. By practicing fairness in your daily interactions, you can create more harmonious relationships and contribute to a more just and compassionate world. Take a moment now to reflect on everything you've learned today. How can you incorporate fairness and Stoicism into your everyday life? What challenges do you anticipate, and how can you prepare yourself to face them with grace and integrity? Mastering social perception and fairness is a lifelong journey. It requires continual practice and self-reflection, but the rewards are profound. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery and growth. As you continue to practice these principles, you will find that your relationships will become richer, your decisions fairer, and your life more fulfilling.